First thing I want to talk about, to discuss, because it has been brought up quite recently, is owlbears. Now, what most people don't know is that when the Elfar, when the lower kingdoms were nigh but destroyed, the Elfar had to move up, and obviously they immediately at that time they couldn't move out into the sun. There was
Charging
still
battery.
massive light sensitivity for dark elf eyes. Once you've lived in the pure darkness and have adapted with ultravision and dark vision, it makes sunlight very, very difficult to acclimate to. Uh, okay, if someone can help Lark, appreciate it, because apparently her hearing device is not working properly. So if someone could help, that would be appreciated. Okay, anyway, so when the Dakafar moved up and carved out the upper kingdoms, they were living in caves and under mountains and uh, similar situations where they had access to the surface world, but they were still uh, basically living in the dark. When that occurred, they encountered owlbears, and they found owlbears to be extremely susceptible to the what's the best way to put it to the charms of of dark elves. So during that time, most dark elven rangers had owlbear companions, and that was extremely helpful and extremely useful, and making it so that the dark elves did not go extinct. Um, the dark elven rangers and their owlbear companions would go out in the world, go out in the surface world, and take down prey, etc., and bring it back for the community at large. As such, they carved out a niche, as they say, a footnote in history that is mainly only, you know, uh, relayed to rangers, druids, and those who worship Rilithane Rolithil. But that does not make them less special. Um, so, long long story short, they are considered, especially among rangers and druids, to be a sacred animal. Rilithane Rolithil, in fact, has a pet owl bear. His is intelligent, of course, because he's a god. But he has a he has his own owlbear companion, and for those that choose him as their deity, um, that is their animal, that is their totem animal. Does anyone not know what an owlbear is? Has anyone never heard of an owlbear? An owlbear is, you know, has one would surmise from the name is a large animal built exactly like a bear. It looks like a bear, but it's covered in feathers and has the face and claws of an owl. Okay. So, and obviously it's nocturnal. Uh, let me see if I can pull up a picture. I'm sure that the net has millions of them. I built a statue of one um, a few years ago, but because I build so many things, I rotate the stuff that's in my room, and it's high. It's not currently in here. I would just take a picture of my statue that I built. And let's see if I can find a good one on the net. Uh, yeah, there are a few really good ones. The best one I see is this one right here. So I'm going to capture this picture. The claws are a little bit small um, in this picture, but it really gives you a good concept. So I'm going to drop. I'm going to pull that, drop it in world, so you can get a idea. With this new system, I have not done a whole lot of pulling pictures from the world, so my apologies if I figure it while I figure it out for a moment here.
Lord Malikith also Sorrel Moon Snow has Resed one as well
Oh,
for us.
okay,
At least I'm assuming the one that will be used in Greenhaven there.
okay.
Um, but yes, not to stop you from what you're doing, but just to
Oh
let you
no,
know
no,
because I thought you might be windowed out.
you're right. I was. Wasn't I? So I'm waiting for that. While I'm looking for this, while that's resing in, I am still going to pull this picture, and but right now I only see the basic shadow, basic shape of it, but it looks essentially correct. Usually are yeah, it's pretty good. Usually they're on all fours. They don't um, they don't tend to be on hind legs in less combat situations. So just like a bear, you know, um, they they travel in the same way a bear does. And most activities are on all fours, but they can be quite huge if they get up on all fours, up to as much as 11 feet tall. They they are the size of a grizzly bear. And yeah, see that one's pretty good. That is a pretty good one. Um, they don't usually have horns, but I see that one does. But it is not impossible for them to have antlers. It's I I would surmise that maybe that was supposed to be feathers, and the creator just changed the color, because the to have large feathers in that format is quite common. So I'm going to go with that and say that is just coloration. They don't actually have antlers. That particular one has has feathers that around its head that are just different color. But that is pretty good. That's pretty well built. I'm I'm still trying to figure out how to pull pictures in. It's not like the old format because I'm using Firestorm now because but I will figure it out. Um, it's got to be here somewhere. um, but while I'm doing that, if you have any questions, I will answer them. And as soon as I get this pulled in, then I will do it. This cannot be as hard as it is. Inventory, upload. Oh, okay. Maybe it's under build. Here we go. Thank you. Upload image. Thank you very much. They have completely moved all my buttons. Okay, so let's see if we can pull this up. Do 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 do. Should be under downloads. Dude, there we are. Yay. Okay. Excellent. All right. So here we have it. All right. Thank you for your assistance. They have changed the
Charge complete.
where where my buttons are, and so that increases difficulty level exponentially. Do, 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 do. There we are. Excellent. Okay, so there's a pretty good image. There's a pretty good. There's a pretty good owlbear image right behind me here. Um, yes, if they do make owlbear avatars, they would make excellent companions to any dark elf ranger, any ranger at all, but particularly for dark elves, because for those that you know think in the all right, what happened 200,000 years ago, all right, that would have a historical significance, as they say. That I am uncertain of. A dark elf ranger, they do have some uh, rangers, as we already know, have the highest DPS in the GA. If you add their companions, if you include their companions, they have the highest DPS. Single shot is still mages, and priests are right behind it. But as far as sustained damage per second, as far as sustained DPS, that would fall into rangers. Burst, of course, is always going to be mages, and then priests are right behind because they do have some significant single shot damages. But sustained damage is still going to fall into rangers. Arcane Warrior is it generally comes from rangers, so not always. Yeah, druids and shamans are both priests, so they still fall under that across the board. But clerics, they do have spiritual hammer, and spiritual hammer is a very high damage single shot spell. Rogues have rogues have decent DPS. Yes, very but they're a single shot. They're single shot like mages and priests. Sustained damage. We're talking. That's why I bring up rangers. Sustained DPS is and bards are right behind rangers. If rangers didn't have a companion, bards would overtake. But rangers have a full level um, companion. A ranger without a companion is going to be overshadowed by a bard. You are correct about that. But anyway, so there's two good examples of an owlbear. You got the prim version that is currently on Greenhaven over there, and it looks very good. But as I said, rarely are they on their hind legs. If an owlbear is on its hind legs, you know it's about to smack you in the head. So, um, yeah. Generally speaking, they run on all fours because they are a quadruped, just like bears. And if you note, they do not have fur. They are covered in feathers. You know, whereas bears have fur, of course. Otherwise, they resemble bears from a distance. You might confuse the two till you see their face. That's going to change it entirely. All right. So before I move on about other things, which there are a variety, any questions about owlbears? Does everyone understand why owlbears are um, important to the followers of Rilith and Rolathil and Dark Elf history itself? Yes, druids can speak to owlbears. For those of you that don't know, I am quite Socratic, so I do not always remember every single thing to tell you. I rely heavily on questions. Anyone who can speak the avian tongue can also speak to owlbears. Dark elves across the board are going to have a what's the an affinity for them. So they're not so an owlbear because of their long-standing bloodline. Even though they're mostly there's not a lot of owlbears left, just like griffins. People hunt them down. Humans tend to kill them on sight. But they are friendly to dark elves. It does not mean that they um, can automatically talk to them, but they are automatically friendly towards dark elves. Dark elves, simply because, as I explained earlier, when the lower kingdom was destroyed and dark elves settled in the upper kingdom, they they developed a kinship, a long-standing friendship with owlbears and rangers. Most rangers at that time had owlbear companions. Does that make sense? Okay. But yes, again, if there are any dark elven rangers out there, I completely advocate you trying to get one as your companion. They are awesome, you know, and they are decent combatants too. Not only are they, large and relatively intelligent, they are as smart as any really smart dog. Okay, you know, like Lassie or um, any of those, Rin Tin Tin. um, Owlbears are in line with that intelligence level. But I do pass the word, because they will be excellent. And if you can find, um, owlbear mobile NPCs, it, like wolves and stuff. I know it could happen. Um, or avatars for people who want to play play companions. Those are excellent choices. The same thing can be said for griffins with high elves. Okay, high elves have a very similar bond to griffins that dark elves have to owlbears. Of course, owlbears cannot fly, You know, and they run like bears. But not only do they run like bears, they have the owl. They have the owl pounce ability. If anyone knows, an owl can dart out of the air at 200 miles an hour and grab its prey like super fast. Mouse be sitting on the ground. They have super awesome eyes. Uh, an owl is up there in the air, 200 meters away. They see a mouse, and they can dart all the way to the ground in seconds. An owlbear has not quite so potent because they can't fly, but they do have charge ability, so they can dart forward quickly and nab up their prey. And they are as silent as owls. Owlbears are completely. That's one of the reasons why dark elves chose them in the first place, because as most people know, dark elves move silently. It's a racial thing. You walk around in the dark all the time, and how all your fellows uh, know you're there, it's by sound. Well, dark elves have gotten to the point where they walk without making much noise. So when they came across the owlbears, they were perfect. They were the perfect unison, you know, massive and as quiet. You know, they make they're they're so quiet that a mouse makes more noise. Okay, and so that's pretty good. You know, they are um, very potent. Potent. You only. Thank you for asking that question. Um, if you have a mount that's like a unicorn or a dragon or a griffin or even an owlbear, it's because they have consented to do so. Okay? You do not enslave an intelligent race. Okay? Um, it's be- it's because they have chosen to serve with you. Okay? And oftentimes they see themselves as the one uh, requiring the companion level, and that is how companions work. And all the ones you just mentioned, unicorns, dragons, etc., even owlbears, if they choose to be your companions because they have chosen to do so. Any one of those could be a destrier. Okay, destrier does not mean horse. Okay, destrier means intelligent mount that has chosen you as their rider. Okay, does that make sense to you? Okay, excellent. Excellent. But yes, I actually had. I don't know why I didn't think about it, but yes, owlbears would make excellent destriers. You know, a dark elven paladin riding an owlbear. Shoo. Okay. Uh, yes, if somebody subjugates them, then you're right. That is going to cause an uproar. Like if someone was to subjugate uh, dragons into mounts, there are going to be a whole lot of people, including other dragons, that are going to be coming after you with pitchforks and torches. Um, Same thing with griffins. If someone subjugates griffins and makes and enslaves them, high elves are going to be up in arms. You know, you know they're going to be running around with pitchforks and torches too. Um, Unicorns, same thing. Um, in fact, actually, you subjugate a unicorn, you're probably there are a variety of deities who will be smacking you upside the head. That they'll be telling their priests to be coming at you with torches and pitchforks. Because unicorns are sacred to several deities. But there you have that. Um, I hope that answers all your questions. Um, oh, in case you didn't, just so you know, um, owlbears are carnivores. They eat meat, and if that was not obvious, like bears are omnivores. Okay, Bear, bears will eat meat and greens, berries, etc., etc. Owlbears not so much. Okay, they have the beak, and they do not have a back set of teeth exactly like bears. So they are carnivores. So if you should get one, do remember that um, you're either going to have to go hunting with them regularly, or you're going to have to, breed pigs or something, because they're very large. Okay, and admittedly, they can eat a lot at once and then go for a long time without eating. Um, because just like bears, they have the ability to hibernate. So they can go 3 or 4 months without eating. They can do that. Okay. But before doing that, they have to fill up. They have to chomp a lot. Okay. Okay. So I covered their habitat. You already got that. They live in caves. They live like bears. They live like bears, eat like owls, um, hunt like owls, except on the ground. Super silent. Um, Humans are not going to hear them coming. You know, you got all this underbrush that you would think, oh yeah, they're gonna break branches and leaves and stuff as they're going. No, they don't do that. They are very adept. Um, and I gave you the history. All right, I think that covers all the bases. Oh, thank you. Do they have a strong smell? They smell like owls, not like bears. So, not so much. You know, they smell like owls.
What about their own scent?
Their ability to, okay, thank you. Their ability to use olfactory, um, it's decent. It's decent. It's like bears. You know, it's not like a wolf, but they do have decent olfactory senses. Okay, and obviously they have massive vision issues. I mean, good ones. They are nocturnal, and um, they can see 200 meters away as though it was 2 feet away. Okay, they can see half a mile, and see with as much clarity as a person would be 3 feet away. Okay, so they have excellent vision, and as you can also imagine, they have very wide vision. They can see 270 degrees just because of the way their eyes are positioned, and they can turn their head almost 360 degrees around, 270 degrees. They can turn their head almost all the way around. That's why sometimes you see an owl and it's facing, you're looking at its back, but you're also looking at its face. Owl bears can do the same thing. So they make excellent uh, night watchmen, you know, because they can just sit in the same place and just turn their head like um, like a turret. But yes, and actually, they can, you know, dark elves consider them to be quite cute. That's one of the reasons that they bonded in the first place. And their colors range from white, because they can be all the way up in the Arctic, um, white, yellow, brown, uh, dark brown, and black. Those are the colors that have been currently recorded for owlbears. It has been suggested that there is a species that's white and black like a panda, but no documentation uh, has been brought forth about that. So if they are, then that means that they have remained hidden for a very, very long time. Right. Yep. They cannot move their eyes like a human can. Just like just like owls. So any study you do on owls, chances are it's going to apply to owlbears as well, with the exception of the fact that they cannot fly. Yes, they have feathers, but they cannot fly. And for you potion people out there, for you alchemists, um, the the move silently potion, owlbear feather is one of the components. Okay. I think, I mean, I've covered everything that I can think of. So off the top of my head, definitely a good thing to add to that list. Alba feather, um, nightshade petal, uh, firethorn thistle, and and a drum of water from the river Leith. Those are the ingredients to move silently potion. And one of the advantages of that is you can move for 15 minutes without making any noise whatsoever. After that, um, for the next 15, you got for the next 15 minutes, you have 75%. 15 minutes after that, you got 50%. 50 minutes after that, you got 25%. And then 15 minutes after that, then you go back to normal. So it is a potion that lasts an hour, ultimately. Okay. The whole thing or the minutes part? All right. Go back to the whole thing. All right. So you have Owlbear Feather. Okay. He's got it and it is recorded. Okay. So, um, I think that covers everything. Oh, they are because they were bonded with dark elves. They are also prone to be sending recipients. So any of you out there, and that's all elves, with sending, owlbears can hear you. Yes, I said the ingredient for the potions, Lark, and Malachite's gonna have to write it down, and the times and everything. Everybody know what sending is, right? Okay, sending is 7 word communication, basically telepathic communication, and all elves have it. Every elven type has it. Okay, it's called sending. Okay, and both griffins and owlbears, unicorns do it too, and dragons. They can all of those racial types can receive it. All, elves can send it and receive. Owlbears, griffins, dragons, and unicorns can all receive it. Okay? Half elves have a 50% chance of being able to do that because you're a half breed. half breeds, um, half breeds have a possibility of having their parentage racial ability. Okay? That's the way all half breeds are. Okay? They have a 50% chance of actually being able of having one of their parents' ability. Like you're 50%, if you're a 50% demon, then you have a 50% chance of being immune to illusions. 90% immune to illusions. That happens on character creation. You know, when you're making your character, and it's like I'm a half breed, this and that. So it's, all right, well you got a 50% chance of having this. You're not going to have all of the abilities of both parents. That's just never going to happen. Okay, so you're going to have a 50% chance uh, of having their abilities, but it's never going to be all of both. Does that make sense? I know that we got off topic of owlbears, but this is important. Um, range for sending. Sending is short range. Okay, sending is very short range. Thank you for asking that question. Um, like we're sitting in this room right here. Every one of us is close enough to send to. Okay, and if I'm sitting in my office in there, you guys could somebody out here could reach me with sending, but that's about the max range. Okay, Sending has um, a max range of about 100 meters. It's meant for uh, close quarter communication. Does that make sense? Could a half elf get communication and not be able to send? Yes, they could. Humans cannot send. No. It's can they learn how to send? Hmm. I suppose with enough, if they were a mage, because there is a spell. Okay, there is a spell called sending, and both priests and mages can do it. So yes, they could learn to send, but it's never going to be a natural ability. Okay, mages and priests, there are spells called sending that do that exact same thing. It's a 7 word message. Okay, but it's never going to be natural. But there are spells, yes, in both in the divination sphere, in both of the prime casting classes. Okay, elves, on the other hand, it's natural. Every single type of elf, especially aquatic elves and mer, all the mer types, mermaids, mermen, um, kuatoa, um, koalath, um, all of them have sending as a natural ability. And many of the avian types, okay, no, you already know that an Avarial, because they're an elf, they already have it, okay. But some of the other ones, some of the other, uh, all of the other flying types have sending as well, okay. So if you run across the Hawkman, you know there are there are actually names for all those because there are these are racial types. They will all have sending, okay, because again, like uh, Nif just said, they have to be able to communicate underwater or in the air. They're flying in formation, right? But they can't just, yeah, exactly. Perfect. Taroka is a excellent example. Arakoa is another one, also excellent example. Um, we have an Arakoa in the GA for sure. I know. Okay. Anyway, if they're flying in formation, they communicate back and forth, and you don't see them communicate because you don't have to. They all have sending. They can just send the message, "Hey, we're banking left here." Right? That's under 7 words, right? Okay. And then they receive it and they send back, "Roger that, banking." Okay, just exactly. You know, and the same thing goes with all the mer types because fish are all running together. It's like, hey, we're banking left here. Roger that, banking. So fish and fowl, all the intelligent types have sending, as do elves. And again, with the half breeds, there's a 50% chance, that you have that. And if your character's been around for a long time and you didn't know that you could do that, that doesn't mean that you can't. That just means that you just haven't done it in a long time. That doesn't mean you couldn't. Just because the player was unaware of some of their abilities does not mean I'm going to say, "Up, you never used that in the last 9 years of being in the GA, so you can't do that." No, I'm not going to do that to you. That just means that you stayed silent in the last 9 years. Yes, actually, you can send to elves, okay, or owlbears, or unicorns, or griffins, or dragons. Okay, now dragons are not going to be able to send back to you, but they're going to be able to hear you. Owlbears. That's why um, owlbears. I know I'm keep going back to owlbears, but they're in front of my screen. That's what we're talking about, right? Um, that's one of the reasons why they make excellent companions because okay, so as a ranger, you can talk back and forth with no issues whatsoever. Um, so it didn't have to be that way, but that's why they're friendly with all dark elves. And ultimately, you know, um, elves have a chance of having an owlbear companion just because they have sending. You know, it helps. It's a helpful thing in this particular case. All right. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, and Argo just typed out so that it's clear and concise. Just because you didn't know you had that ability doesn't mean you don't. Okay, it's perfectly legitimate. I, I've I've spoken about sending many times, but I don't know how much I've written down about it. It's but I have talked about it in row classes before. Okay, so we've discussed owlbears considerably, um, and sending, and griffins are to high elves like owlbears are to dark elves. So for all you high elves out there, and for people that play griffins, it's the same. It's the same way. That's right. If you can send, you can send to anyone, but sending is only 7 word messages. Okay, and if they can't receive, then that's not they're not going to be able to get your message. It has to be somebody who can receive it. You know, but there are a variety. I've already touched on everybody who can do sending and the types that can receive. The spell by that name does not require that recipient be able to receive sending. The spell by the name, which is both mages and priests have, that does not require that the recipient have the ability to receive. You can send that to anyone if it's the spell. The natural ability requires that the recipient has the ability to receive. Does that make sense? Do, 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 do. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay. But yes, so that is why also that all every single um, air force for high elves is always griffins, always. Okay, dragons can enter matter whenever in any place they choose to do so, but the vast majority of a high elven air force is going to be griffins. Okay, even if they have a varial amongst them. Okay, even if they have dragons amongst them, there may be a dragon or two. But dragons are not common. Um, but it will always have griffins. And if your high elven realm has an air force and you don't have any griffins, then you're going to want to NPC create that because it's the way it is, the way it would be. Okay, for high elves. Okay, across the board, like Jill Thorne. So say for example, because you are a dragon and you happen to be the commander of the Air Force in Silvara. Okay, just say for sake of argument, right? And you don't have any players that are griffins. Okay, well, your force is still going to be a bunch of griffins. They're just going to be NPCs. Okay, so you get out there and you're flying formation. You're going to have at least six other griffins. At least six griffins in a flight because a flight consists of seven. Okay, you can have massive flights, but you know, generally for the size that we are talking about, griffins and dragons, a flight is seven. Okay, and yes, that is right. That's a high elven um, air force air force flight that I was just discussing. Okay, and no, not necessarily do they get along. That is not a common thing. You're right, but um, you know, the friendship with high elves can change things. Okay, and if we're talking about, and because we're talking about the same thing, I'm going to tell you about underwater. Okay, now traditionally, an underwater group is called a school. Okay, and uh, an underwater force, a submariner force for aquatic elves would again consist of seven. Okay, and it would most likely be hippocampus because that is what aquatic elves use as a mount underwater. And hippocampus, I didn't add them to the list, but hippocampus can also receive sending. My apologies. I forgot to add that to the list. But yes, hippocampus also can receive sending. And for those of you that don't know what a hippocampus is, think of a seahorse that is not a fish. It's an actual seahorse. um, Poseidon is the most most often depicted with hippocampi. Okay. If almost any time you pull up a picture of Poseidon, he's going to have a group of hippocampi with him. Hippocampus is one, hippocampi is multiple. But they also can receive sending. Trying to run through my list in my head. Um, as far as sending to more than one person at a time, the higher level you get, that is cool. Someone just pulled up some pictures of hippocampi. That was cool. The higher level you get, the more you can add one person to your sending list. So let's say um, your third level, then you can do 3 people. Now with the maxim thing being up, it going up to you know uh, 10 for archetypes and 9 for your max paragon, it's going to be halved. Okay. Thank you for. That's why I was just saying that. It's going to be halved. In the maximum setup, it's going to be halved of what your level is. The current setup, it's what your level is. In the maximum setup, it's going to be halved of what your level is. So yes, so if you're a guild lead, that means you're level 10, so you can do 5 people. Or if you're max paragon, then that's 9. Okay, and since it's very difficult to have half a person, if you do have half a person, they're probably dead. But if they're not, hey, they qualify. They round down and they round down unless they're actually half a person. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that one. um, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that's important information there. Any questions on anything that we have discussed so far? Okay. All right. And as okay, so since we're talking about since we've been talking about owlbears, we're going to stay with that for just a few more minutes. When a ranger casts Call Companion, or when a paladin casts Call Destrier, it's always going to be the highest chance of whatever's in that area. Okay. So right now, with Owlbears being Greenhaven, and if they are relocated into Rue or Silvara, you know that's great and awesome. But the fact that they are around, if that is someone's intention, they should go to that area. Okay, because that increases the opportunity for that uh, beastie type to be their companion or their destrier. exponentially. So, for example, if a druid wanted to have a fire rabbit, okay, as their companion, then their best chances of doing that would be to go to the elemental plane of fire, where there are weirds. Yes, going to hell to get a nightmare is the best way to do that. It's possible to get a nightmare from here, but there's only a 1% chance. Okay? There's only a 1% chance of getting a, a an outsider, an extraplanar being, if you cast it from the prime. If you're sitting here and doing it, there's only a 1% chance of that happening. And then when you cast that out, you're letting somebody pick it up, and then they get to decide if they are going to answer or not. Okay? But if you go there, then not only do you cast that out, you have a and but since there are a bunch of them in that area, then it increases the chances of one of them is going to say, "Hey, yo, I think I want to go hang out with that dude or that dudette." You know, you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Yes, dudette. I could say dude with two O's, but then I have to go dude. You know, of course I could do that too, but hey, it still works, right? And then it's all right. Um, so does all that makes sense? And I let me talk. I'm going to talk about rogues for just a second here, in just a minute. Rogues and warriors. Now, rogues and warriors. Now, although they don't have call companion or call familiar or call destrier. They they can get pets. Okay, and when when they get a pet, it's a smart, intelligent pet that does things for them, like a war dog for a warrior. All right, as a good example, or a rat, or a crow, or a raccoon for a rogue. Okay, now they can't talk to them, like, or a ferret. Good example. Excellent ferret. Excellent choice. They can't talk to them the way a ranger can, but they can um, they can communicate with them the same way a normal person could communicate with your pet, but in a much more in a deeper fashion. Okay, they are super trained. Okay, and they can have, you know, you get a raccoon. You know they got thumbs. You know, so you can train your raccoon to go in there and steal stuff. Okay, warriors and rogues can have pets. They don't have mental communication, but they are available to both those classes. Isn't, you know, yes, in a case like a warder, they're not going to get warders. A warder is is the deity's avatar's creature that has been granted to an individual. Okay, and unless it's a rogue priest, they're not going to get a warder. But shoot, is it possible? Yeah. Okay, but definitely, you know, rogues having raccoons, that'll work. Okay, but can you imagine a rogue priest of Rilithane Rolithil having an owlbear thief trained like a raccoon? And have, you know, silent as a grave, but of course way too big to fit in anything small. So they'll be sneaking around, you know, like a silent troll. But that would be highly amusing. Yep, that's a good choice, and that's why they fit with rogues. And you know, the ferret, excellent choices. Crows and rats, you know, all relatively intelligent animals because crows are corvids and they are very intelligent, just like raccoons, ferrets, and rats. Warriors, warrior pets, you know, they could be relatively intelligent as well, but they're going to be more of a, you know, they're going to be more like guard dogs. Could be though, it's not out of the question. It could be a horse or a cat. You know, even a big cat would fit in with warriors. But yes, those are pets. They're so having the rangers help them train is good. Um, there is a profession. Yes, there is a profession. It's called husbandry, animal husbandry, and the whole point of animal husbandry is to train is to train animals to pets, etc., etc. Okay. Commonly, someone with animal husbandry uh, generally runs the stable. Okay. In fact, highest the the highest level of that is called stable master. You know, regardless, that's their uh, that is their name. That is nomenclature. Yeah, I suppose it could have a weird name, weird connotation to it, but it isn't supposed to. But stable master is your highest level uh, professional animal husbandry practitioner. Yeah, SL has some weird things that don't generally happen outside here. You know, that does, you know, it is not uncommon for someone who does animal husbandry to to breed their species that they specialize in, like horses or owlbears. It's not uncommon for them to do that. Doves, crows. I mean, that is within their wheelhouse, as they say. Okay. They train animals. They breed them. Um, they teach them. Yes, yes, Jello Sharpclaws. Any ranger or druid with call companion could possibly get an owlbear, whether they're dark elf or not. I use dark elf because that is, you know, the most standard for them. But anyone who has call companion can do that. Owlbears are higher level, so a first level ranger is probably not going to get an owlbear. Okay. Owlbears uh, are both air and earth. They fall under both sets. Dark elves will just get they'll get basically a +1, but um, to do it. So a level 3 ranger could get an owlbear, and if or a level 2 dark elf ranger could get an owlbear. Does that make sense? Most excellent. Okay, cool. I know I've kept you guys for an hour and a half already, almost. Um, any, but any other questions? I know that I'm invariably going to keep going back to owlbears as why we're talking, because that is our subject at hand, even when we're discussing other elements. Um, that's fine. But any topic you want to discuss, you want to bring up, go ahead. Okay. Celestials. Yeah, sure. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Racial abilities for Celestials was the question originally posed to me, and obviously, number one is if they have wings, they can fly. Okay, which most Celestials do. It's generally the case. All right, and Celestials also have an illusion spell naturally that they can make it so that their wings are not visible. So it could be just like they're walking around normal. They have wings, but they're invisible. But if they want to take off, they want to fly, they have to make their wings visible. Okay? Just so everyone knows that. They fold them down so they're not going to their wings are not out there for you to bump into. Okay? But if you like run your hands down their back for whatever weird reason you've got to do that, you're going to feel feathers. Okay? that that's totally fine. You did that is correct. That's good, Jill Thorne. Um, so back to celestials. Um, they also have speak with tongues, naturally natural ability. So they can speak any language. That does not mean they can read it, okay, but they can speak it, okay? Just like demons and devils also have that ability, okay? Tanari and Beyatsu. I generally prefer to use the my own terms, the dark elven terms, the elven words for them, which is Tanari and Beyatsu. But most people don't know what those mean, so sometimes I don't. But yes, anyway, back to celestials. Okay, so they have speak with tongues, they can fly, they have illusion spell where they can make it so that their wings are stay invisible. Um, Off the top of my head, those are the ones. Oh, they are also difficult, not impossible. It's difficult to visually trick them. Okay, um, at least more difficult than your average individual. They do not have a heightened sense of smell, but their eyes are particularly acute. So they have a 75% resistance. No, 25% resistance, 75% chance of success. So 25% resistance to visual illusion spells, which are the penchant of Fae. Celestials have some resistance to that. Does that make sense? Or did I talk in too many circles? There we go. Exactly. And I think that covers it across the board for abilities they have. Demons, devils, elementals, and celestials also all have uh, some, they all have the possibility of having sending. Okay. They don't always have it. Okay. But their their racial type has a 50% chance, just like a half breed. Their racial type makes it so that they could have sending. Okay. Does that make sense? Well, as far as strength goes, see, this is a key element with the GA and with the format that we use is that super strength I usually reserve for like minotaurs and giants. Angels are not as strong as minotaurs or giants. So I don't necessarily provide super strength for angels, celestials. They are stronger than more normal people, yes. Okay. But so are lichen. They're angels or celestials are as strong as lichen. Okay. So they are stronger than your average human. Okay, just like vampires. Vampires, they have heightened strength also. Okay, but it's not like giants or ogres. Vampires have heightened strength on par with celestials and lichen. So they are stronger than your average human. Yes, but it's not like a giant that can snap walls, and that's what I look at as super strength. I call that heightened strength. Does that make sense? Okay. But thank you for bringing that up because I don't usually consider heightened strength to be a super ability, but it is significantly something that does need to be known that they have heightened strength. That is something that does need to be known. Like vampires and lichen falls uh, in those same ratios. Correct. Super strength would be giants and dragons. You know, those fall under super strength. Heightened would be vampires, celestials, lichen, owlbears. Because I keep looking over here and saying, "Hey, don't forget, you got this owlbear statue standing in front of me." So I say, "Don't forget me. Okay, keep whenever you do something that says owlbears, you gotta make sure you mention my name." I think I want to cut it. Whoever this has this owlbear statue, if you got a copy that could be, I would like to have one, a copy of that, put in my office. Oh, okay. I just told that it's on the marketplace. All right, I'm gonna look for it. Yes, dragons have super strength. I will search that out because I think I want now that owlbears have been seen. I think I want to put one in my office. Oh, there is not one out, um, but I'm certainly willing to answer any of those questions. Okay, because there are um, companions that particularly fit. It doesn't mean you'll always get that. Dragons in biped human form are still going to have heightened strength. In their dragon form, they're going to have super strength, and their human form, they're going to have heightened strength. Okay, as far as blink dogs, you must be a high elf because oh, perfect moon elf. Yep, blink dog is perfect for a moon elf. If you want to get a, if you want to get one, go. Your highest chances of doing that is going to be in the Fey Wilds because they run there wildly. If you cast that from here, you're going to have a chance. But if you want a blink dog, the best way to go is to do that. Yes, the ether. The ether is an excellent place to also for a blink dog. Would also work. So that's actually the best way to throw for me to answer those questions rather than and to list them because and I could do that, but really there are 150 races in the GA. So for me to go down every single one and tell you who what the most appropriate um, companion would be pretty extensive. but a but in the case that you don't, there are ones that you wouldn't think of. Um, maybe I should throw some out there. Like obviously nobody has really thought about having an owlbear as a companion. You know, but if you're a dark elf, it makes absolute 100% sense that you should have. But any anyone who could have one. All right, blink dog, another good example. That's a moon elf specialty. Actually, high elves would kind of would like that too. For high elf, it'd most likely be a griffin. Okay, um, a displacer beast would also be quite not uncommon for a moon elf. For wood elf, the most common one would be the Kushi. It's not obviously the only one. There's many possibilities, but most common companion for a wood elf would be a Kushi. And if you don't know what that is, it's like a white Great Dane with red ears, and and they it's a dog. It's a fairy dog for for lack of a better word, and they move silently, and they have excellent super sense of smell and hearing and vision. You know, for a fae, the most uh, common familiar with for a fae, depending on really depends upon what your element is, um, but most commonly would be like giant scarab beetles. Um, that's not uncommon at all. Squirrels. There are. Have you ever heard of a ketch? A ketch is a monkey made out of leaves, basically, and that is not uncommon for fey types to have a ketch. Yes. All right. Um, uh, for some really good ones for earth-based fey would be like a Zorn. Zorns are superb for earth-based fey types as far as the magical creatures go. If you don't know what a Zorn is, it kind of looks like uh, a hedgehog. It kind of looks like a hedgehog with bigger claws, and it eats gemstones, and so has the innate ability to smell them from a mile away. Diamonds, rubies, etc. That it eats them, so it has the innate ability to smell them out. If you, if any of you are familiar with Pokemon, um, the shoot, what's it called? There's a Pokemon that looks like a Zorn. Um, do 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 do. I'm looking it up because I can't remember what it's called. Uh, uh, that's not it. More like a porcupine, I guess. Maybe I should have read that. I should. Nope. They're sand shrew. Sand slash. I'm sorry. Sand slash from the Pokemon is looks a lot like a Zorn. Very, very, very much like a Zorn. Sand slash. Yeah. Nif found it before I did, I guess. Okay, for wolves. um, for wolves, uh, all the wolf types, obviously, including hellhounds, death dogs, um, winter wolves, um, uh, those are just off the top of my head, are all makes excellent uh, wolf companions. A zephyr, okay. Now, when you're talking about those, that's a really good one. All the winged types like avians and zephyrs, then and then the ones that you're going to be looking at will be like um, hawks, eagles, and as far as the advanced races go, as far as the magical types, um, could you could go so far as manticore, or griffin. You know, you could go that is that far out. Okay, because it is not uncommon for the avian types to choose a companion that they could actually ride. Now, those are, of course, most likely that falls under Destrier for Paladin, but not always the case. And there are a variety of intelligent um, avian types um, that also fit. You know, like any of the giant eagles. You know, like in you've seen The Hobbit, okay, and Lord of the Rings and all those. You see those giant eagles there. um, those are good examples of potential of potential companions. Okay, and we already know that ravens can be 100% intelligent and make excellent companions as well. Okay, and, you start with um, your style, and then you go from there. Okay, and as to what um, works with you, but is but there are possibilities. I mean, once once you get to the higher levels, then you start looking at possibility of, you know, Arakoa and Harpies. Of course, they are very intelligent and relatively humanoid. So, you know, you kind of got to be near top of the game in order to get one of those. But, you know, there are some, you know, like a Thunderbird. Okay, Thunderbirds are excellent choice. Thunderbird is an excellent choice. Nif, right now we're just talking about you know familiar types, so you can cut it off at any point, um, because most of that is going to be subjective, and I'm just throwing out ones that are good. People are asking that are good for certain race types. Since the owlbear discussion had come up, and griffins for high elves.